Welcome to Baby Boomer Tales. My name's Jim. You can find us at babyboomertales.com. Once you've landed on our webpage, you can find a list of places to access our podcast. Our Boomers General Store, where you can buy ball caps, t-shirts, coffee mugs, all Baby Boomer Tales oriented. Our Shop Tales at Amazon store. It's a portal into the Amazon.com shopping page. And whatever you buy when you go through that portal that you find on our webpage, we will get a small percentage of each sale without any extra expense for you. It's a great way for us to fund Baby Boomer Tales podcast without having a commercial during the podcast. So that's been working for us pretty well. We appreciate your business, we really do. Spring is here. Beautiful spring. Starts tomorrow on the 20th. This podcast is released on the 19th. Some flowers are blooming. We had the little brave crocuses. Now daffodils are poking up their heads. Trees are budding out, and soon we'll have those flowering trees we have around here in the Midwest. The red buds, the tulip trees, the pear trees. Some pretty action happens in the spring around here. In fact, it's quite beautiful. The country around here is so lush. It's unreal. And a lot of different things grow abundantly. It's really wonderful to see. Now that spring's here, maybe the mice will choose to go outside for a while. I really saw no mice until about the middle of February, and all of a sudden I started catching them in my garage. I have several traps, like a couple underneath the workbench where I keep hand tools and stuff. I have a poison also, but that doesn't seem to deter them, but the traps do. I used to have these wooden traps. Remember the mouse traps? And they were made out of wood with spring steel, and you had to pull that sucker back and hook the little trigger to it and try to set it down without the trap going off, and it caused high anxiety with me. You know, sucker, you just barely set it down and it pops and all that stuff. You have peanut butter or cheese on it. But today's new traps, or you just kind of squeeze it and it opens up and you set it down. It even has fake cheese, but I like to put a little peanut butter on that. And it is a lot less anxiety for me. I have done away with all those wooden mouse traps. Mice are amazing. They can get in anywhere. It is just amazing. Our unusual facts this week are about mice. Their teeth never stop growing, so it's necessary for them to keep gnawing on things to manage their teeth, to wear their teeth down a little. So they'll gnaw on anything, including your electrical wires, so you want to keep them under control. They have a flexible skull, and their skeletal kind of collapses in, so they can get into the smallest place there is, as small as a pencil. If the hole's as big around as a pencil, they can get in there. That's amazing. Mice can sing. Only 4 mammals on Earth can sing: whales, bats, humans, and mice. Some of the famous animated mice are Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse, of course, Mighty Mouse, coming to save the day, Jerry from Tom and Jerry, and Speedy Gonzales. Hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran up the clock. 3 blind mice, see how they run. Something about the farmer's wife chasing them with a butcher's knife. 3 blind mice. Mice are all part of the same family as mice, rats, gerbils, hamsters, and voles. If you don't know what a vole is, They're kind of like a mole, where they tunnel underground and then build a big hill at the end of their tunnel. In fact, the vole hills are bigger than mole hills, and a vole looks like a mouse. It's small and stuff, but they can cause some damage in your yard. So when your grandkids want to bring the hamster home, or they want to buy a gerbil for a pet, just remember, you might as well just catch a mouse. It's cheaper. Live probably just as long. Our song of the week is Did You Ever Have to Make Up Your Mind by the Lovin' Spoonful. Written by band member and leader John Sebastian. It is on their 1965 debut album, Do You Believe in Magic? This great song reached number 2 on the Billboard charts in America. The number 1 song that beat it out that week was Painted Black by the Rolling Stones. And just when you think she's that one in the world, your heart gets stolen by some mousy little girl. When I was a kid, I remember rooting around under my dad's workbench in a box full of like tarps and things like that for his painting, I guess, and finding a dead mouse. And it was weird. I could swear it's in my mind, it's ingrained in my mind, that this guy, he was all dead and stuff, but he had like a metal circle around his feet. It couldn't have been a trap, I don't think. It was just like that's the way he was made or created or died or something. I'll never forget the way that looks. It almost looked like it could have been a toy, but it was a dead mouse. I know it was a dead mouse. I remember carrying it into the house by the tail and asking Mom. Yeah, little boys do stuff like that. Where that metal thing is, because I see plenty of dead mice anymore, and I don't know. It must have been me tripping out. When I was a young man and I lived at the Jap camp, my friend Roger had a dog that was half coyote, half Siberian husky. And I had a pup that was some kind of Heinz 57, but mostly shepherd and husky. And we walked out into a hay meadow that had just been cut. And there were mice and whatever running around. And Roger's dog, Alicia, grabbed a mouse, bit it, threw it up in the air, and caught it, bit it again, and swallowed it all in one fluid motion. And old Baloo Dog, my pup, tried to do the same thing. She caught the mouse, went to throw it up in the air, and the mouse bit her on the lip. And so the mouse was dangling, and she couldn't flip it up in the air because the mouse was attached, and she was whining, and the mouse was, on her. And so I had to get the mouse off, and then she grabbed the mouse and did whatever she did with it. But old Baloo learned how to hunt from that coyote dog. And it was an amazing thing to watch that coyote dog operate. It really was. She was a pretty, pretty dog. One of the prettiest dogs I ever saw. She had the markings and the color of a coyote, and yet she had the fullness of the Siberian husky. Yep, old Blue stayed with me for 16 years. She was a good dog. One of the best I ever had. When we moved to the Kansas City area, we moved to this house that kind of set a little bit on a hill. And we kept getting mice in that house. And I remember that was the first time I really messed very much with those mouse traps. And I'd catch mice all the time. Never could figure out how they're getting in. I figured it was through the garage somewhere. But you'd be watching TV and here's a mouse running around. My wife did not like that one little bit. Here in our house, of course, I get mice in the garage, just like what I was talking about. And there's places in the garage they can get in. You're working around and leave the garage doors open. Or like this year, I can see a little daylight under the garage doors where the rubber part of the door is kind of rotted out. I need to replace it this summer, but you can see a little daylight. So lately I've been catching maybe one a day. Once in a while that trap will spring and not catch the mouse. I have to put fish line or string or something, because those traps are lighter weight than the old wooden trap. The mouse can run for a little bit and disappear with your trap. And I'm not very fond of that. We were getting mice in the house about maybe 10 years ago. The house is 25 years old now. And once in a while we get a mouse, and I never knew where he's coming from. But about 10 years ago we were getting them. I'd find them downstairs a lot in the basement. So I walked around the house and I poked and I prodded in every square inch of where the earth meets the house or the foundation, and I found we have a walkout basement door, and the guys that built that wall there at the walkout part where they put the door where the threshold is, the door jamb going up and down, there was a very small space, maybe half an inch on each side where that threshold was. So this can't be right. So I packed that full of steel wool, and I haven't had a mouse problem since. But they were getting in. Word was out, free hotel. Come this way. I talked about my grill last fall. A wheel fell off of my grill. It's an expensive grill, and it just rusted off. And all of a sudden I was getting mice in the grill, and I couldn't figure out where. But there was a little hole from where that wheel was, and they were getting up through there. So there again I put steel wool. They can't chew through the steel wool, so it is a great deterrent for mice. Those little suckers have caused so much problems, chewing and their feces and all that stuff. Now I did ask a doctor that was a breathing specialist. Kim had a problem a few years ago, and so I asked him about mouse feces, because you read where people sweeping a bunch of that up and the dust from it kill them. And he explained to me in certain parts of the country that is true, but in this part of the country, I don't know if it's different types of mice or different situations with the air and the general humidity of the place or what, but we don't have that problem here in this country. But places like Arizona and Colorado do. But they're still dirty. Don't think that they're not dirty. They like to pee on themselves, for one thing. So if you have mice, just remember, wash up after you deal with the traps and whatever, and get rid of them. Do your best to get rid of them. You're not destroying some of God's little creatures that are so nice, the little guys that sing. No, they are going to ruin your home. They'll run everything. When I was a potato chip route delivery driver back when I first started doing white collar, I got out of the mine and thought I wanted to be white collar, and so I had a delivery job of potato chips and snack foods and stuff. And one time I opened the door to my warehouse, and those mice had cut a hole in every bag of chips, ruined everything, ruined all my inventory. It was terrible. They had just made it into Swiss cheese. And even the bags, those plastic cellophane bags, felt kind of oily or something. And it had to be from those mice. So they are not your friend. They are not your friend. Remember, only good mouse is a dead mouse. Now, you may have a white rat, as a pet or something. I understand that. But they're under a controlled environment. Your gerbil or your hamster. That is under a controlled environment, and that's different than a field mouse that's wanting to get in the house. Get in the house, and next thing you know, they're in your pantry. You don't need that. You don't want that. They're gnawing holes. You ever see those cartoons with the mouse hole for going into the mouse house? They'll gnaw a hole in your trim to have easy access in and out. Back to my mouse problem right now, though, out in the garage. That will go away as soon as it warms up a little more. But I've been catching a mouse a day or so, and I take them out and I throw them outside for the coyotes to eat later. I can't wait until about May or June. Then the only time I'll see a mouse is when I'm cutting hay and the dogs are out there grabbing them. Now, I'm dogless anymore. We watched my daughter's dog while they built their house, and he would actually, these mice would get in the wooden fence posts, and he'd almost pull those fence posts out of the ground trying to get to a mouse. He was amazing. He's a very big, strong dog. He was. It was good when I had cats and dogs. The whole reason I had cats is to keep the mouse population down. And you could always tell when there was a mouse in the garage. They'd hang out in the garage in the wintertime, and they would act different when there was a mouse around than when there wasn't. They were at attention. They were watching. They were sitting still. They weren't wanting to be petted. All that stuff. Now, I'm not a big fan of cats, so I'm not. But out in the country, your animals have a job to do, whatever that job may be. For the cats, it was the mice. And they did their job very, very well. Now, I don't dislike cats. Old Ozzy was my favorite cat I ever had, and he lived to be 18 years old. He was the last cat I've had. But at one time, I had his sisters and his mother around here. I had quite a few, 4 or 5 cats hanging around, never in the house. Never in the house. I'll take care of the mice in the house myself. And thank goodness I have not seen a mouse in the house for quite a while. So if you get a mouse, don't freak out and don't think that you're dirty or something. Mice happen. They can get into a place as small as a pencil. Don't ever forget that. The least little place they can get into. So know what you're dealing with. Yeah, that's enough. This old man just wanted to talk a little bit about mice. John Steinbeck, you are a great author. One of my very favorites. Always be kind. There's no better way to live your life. Thank you for riding along today. I'll be back next Wednesday. Peace out.